voters are going to be, the poorer conservatives especially, are going to be ones that will fucking gravitate towards whoever wins the culture war harder.
Infringement on your rights. And also, is it really even scientific, given the trends that we're seeing? I mean, no matter how you approach this question, it seems like a really bad idea.
When you say, is it even scientific, what do you mean by that?
Meaning, we've been traveling for a year without vaccines.
Well, in a limited aspect. Some people have.
I travel a lot.
Limited capacity.
Yeah. I mean, it's somewhat limited.
Well, no, if you look at the airline trends.
Bro, when Joe Rogan is defeating you from the middle there, like, you're owned. You're fucking wrecked. You're owned, brother. Like, you can't have... How the fuck do you let Joe Rogan own you in the marketplace of ideas from the left? Jesus Christ, dude. It's like so few people have had that beautiful moment where Joe Rogan hits them from like a leftist point of view and they just find themselves owned. And those opinions are I thought it was exclusive to like fucking Dave Rubin saying idiotic shit like, well, why don't you have a Yelp review? If you want to build a construction company, government regulations could be taken over by Yelp reviews, and like Joe Rogan owns you. Or like you say something along the lines of like fucking, weed should be illegal because it makes you violent, or that climate change is fake and you're Candace Owens. Like, those are like the three people that Joe Rogan's fucking ever owned on a show. It sucks to be one of those people.
That's
severely
true.
limited.
Fairly, yeah. I spent a lot of time at airports over the last year.
Well, you do, but that's
but I know
personal.
I know how crowded they are every time I'm there, and yeah, there was definitely a time period.
Bro, it's literally Joe Rogan right now with his ape brain is straight up telling you your anecdotes cannot be a substitute for empirical evidence showing that air traffic has literally minimized and has not reached the pre-pandemic levels, even in instances where there was like an insane amount of air traffic happening because of the holiday season. And even if you were to look at the holiday season, it doesn't even fucking matter, because after the holiday season ended, we saw a gigantic spike in COVID deaths, worse than we had ever seen thus far.
Where there were ghost towns, but that hasn't been the case for many.
But it's still
months.
not even 50% of what it was a year ago.
Look at him, he's fucking literally owning Dan
Or a
Crenshaw.
year and a
Oh
half
my
ago,
god.
I don't know the exact numbers.
I don't know what it is either.
I just know that we've been living with it, just like you have to live with a pandemic, because
Yeah.
you don't have a choice. Here's a big difference. Maybe everything boils down to this difference. The right believes, look, you don't have a choice. You got to make the best of it. You got to keep living. You got to mitigate risk where you can, but you can't mitigate risk at the expense of everything else. And the left says, no. You have to mitigate risk at the expense of everything else. No cost is too high because if it just saves one life. This is the fundamental difference.
The problem they don't take into account is it costs a lot of lives. It costs a lot of lives through suicide, depression, drug addiction. There's a lot of people.
The schools closing has been excessively bad, and there's no science to indicate that this is what our kids need.
I have a friend who lives in Nevada, and their community was ravaged by suicide with young kids, and they're devastated by it. And they're trying to figure out there's a massive escalation of suicides in high school age kids because of the pandemic and the lockdown.
You have a higher chance of dying from the flu if you're under 20 years old. Why doesn't Dr. Fauci ever say that? Why does he go, hey, you could die if you're 14. You could. Yes, you could. But you have to contextualize the information you're giving. This is why America's lost trust in their public health officials, because they never contextualize anything. They never give you the probability of risk.
Catch new episodes of the Joe Rogan Experience for free only on Spotify. Why?
This was terrible argument-wise. Like, it wasn't good at all. I mean, he basically waxed poetic about fucking classical liberalism for the most part, up until half of the video. And then the rest of it, he just basically said, I have personal anecdotes that show me that, like, we don't even need vaccines. Where Joe Rogan was like, no, you're wrong about that because, travel has been very limited. It's kind of weird that he's doing this, though, because he's had like a bunch of light COVID deniers up to this point. I don't know why he's like, is he turning over a new leaf here or something? Okay, let's watch the stimmy check one because I heard that this is like really polarizing.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
But that moment is special because there's value in suffering. And in today's society, we have convinced ourselves.
I just don't like the way he really does present himself as a fucking idiot who is trying to act much smarter than he is. And not Joe Rogan. I really respect one thing about Joe Rogan. I respect a couple different things about Joe Rogan. But the thing I respect about Joe Rogan the most is that he recognizes his stupidity, right? Joe Rogan always recognizes his intellectual limitation. He admits them all the time. Same with me. I'm a dumb himbo. There is a thin himbo line always as part of the reason why I fucking will, have some respect for someone like Chris Cuomo. You know what I mean? Same with Joe Rogan, right? Dan, on the other hand, is like unaware of his limitations. He would be a himbo if he recognized how fucking stupid he is. And instead tries to make up for his lack of knowledge in any particular field by like just doing the fucking high school essay shit. Like, well, once again, you've asked me a question, but let me describe to you what the theory behind classical liberalism is. Well, there is value in suffering. You've asked me a question about the COVID vaccinations. Well, let me tell you. Let me endlessly pontificate by describing to you the multitudes of reasons as to why there is actual suffering behind those eyes. No one knows what it's like to be a madman, to be a sad man. Sorry. Yeah. Oops, I got philosophical. Oh, your argument is lavatorial. It's puerile. Okay.
That there is no value in suffering, that the entire role of, say, government is to end your suffering. But this is a false promise. Not only is it a false promise, but it will create a weak society that is unable to sustain itself.
Okay, don't use roads then, bitch. I hate this. Fuck off, dude. I hate this shit. I hate it. Like, this argument makes no sense. We gotta re-listen to it. Hold on.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
But that
the government should not meet basic fucking amenities, okay, as a unit, because that will make us weaker. Okay, literally live in a cave.
Moment is special because there's value in suffering. And in today's society, we have convinced ourselves that there is no value in suffering, that the entire role of, say, government is to end your suffering. But this is a false promise. Not only is it a false promise, but it will create a weak society that is unable to sustain itself. That's a really important point, and I think there's
society sustains itself through so much collective action that you're just fucking washing away, as though like society is just a bunch of fucking individuals who are literally trading bread for guns or some shit, and everything is still operating through the barter system, and we don't have fucking roads, or we don't have infrastructure, we don't have transportation. It's so stupid. This is, again, a very dumb person portraying themselves as a very smart person and failing to do so. It sounds like the government is the bad guy. It like literally doesn't matter what it sounds like. It's just a fucking idiotic take from the son of an oil baron. Well, not a baron, but like an oil engineer that traveled the entire world, by the way. So remember that.
Deep truth in that. This is why victimhood politics is so dangerous, and I would say populism is too. I think the two are almost indistinguishable.
You're a conservative, brother.
Distinguishable from each other. People are always trying to talk about populism.
This is pure projection. Conservatives, there are two certainties, okay, in life. One, conservatives are always going to engage in right-wing populism, which is racism for the most part, or nationalist racism, and also on top of that, they're always going to engage in victimhood politics, like victimhood narratives, as though they are the ones who are under attack. The second certainty in life, for those of you who do not know, is that at the top of every hour, there is a 60-second ad break. Now, this is the third one of the day, okay? A contractual obligation given to me, Hasanabi by Amazon. Now, you might be wondering, like, how can I watch the stream without any sort of ad breaks? I want to continue his broadcast experience. Well, don't worry, my friend. All you need to do is subscribe. You could do it for $5, or you could do it for free by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. And this way, you can, use your one free Twitch subscription that you get by Amazon on me, your favorite streamer. Okay. God damn, that was a smooth ass fucking segue. And let's see those primers in the chat. I'm going to run the ad and also run the video at the same time. So get wrecked if you don't subscribe. Sorry. Here it is.
Populism on the right and the left. And I say, look, well, here's what populism is. It's telling you what you feel. It's mirroring your feelings back to you.
Very different than what Donald Trump has done, by the way, which is ironic. That's just, you're a demagogue, okay? Demagogues do this, and they do it very well, and that's what Trump did, and that's kind of what Dan Crenshaw tries to do but fails to do, and that's probably why he's poo-pooing it.
Telling you what you want to hear as opposed to the truth. So I think that's a decent definition of populism. I don't like it. I don't like people embracing it. It doesn't just mean, hey, things that are good that people are for. Well, you know what? A lot of people are for $1,600 checks that are free. That doesn't mean it's a good policy.
Right.
That's a good example.
Right. People, shut the fuck up, dude. Oh, here we go, brother. Let's hear it. I wonder why he thinks the stimmies were bad. Let's
voted. If they voted and said, "Do you want $100,000 for a year?"
Totally.
Everybody would vote yes.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But is it a sustainable policy? You know, of course not.
Of course not.
Notice how Joe Rogan said $100,000 every year. Notice how the number that he used wasn't $2,000. Notice how the number that he used wasn't $1,600. Notice how the number he used wasn't $5,000 fucking dollars. Why? Because there's a difference between $100,000 and $2,000. Okay? You're bringing it out to an entirely different argument when you draw it out to an absurd fucking place. You're literally making an argument that is absurd and exaggerated, which is not the point of contention at all. One should recognize that when they are engaging in such an argument. There's a difference between giving someone $2,000 versus giving someone $100,000. Also, the stimulus checks literally worked.
And the kind of amounts to the I think drastic lurches in welfare policy or infrastructure spending and all of these things that we're seeing. It's populism on steroids. It's telling you what you want to hear. And that's not truth. That's not truth. And we have to get back to truth. And we have to get away from this victimhood mentality where
this is dude, Dan Crenshaw's too much of a Democrat, brother. That's it. That's the reason why he will never fucking be president and he will never win. This is like literally the quintessential neoliberal argument, which is the truth, sweaty, is too difficult for you to comprehend with your fucking average Joe layman pre-brain, okay? Sorry, government is very difficult and infrastructure spending is too hard to fucking accomplish. Like, that's what liberals do all the fucking time. That's why I shit on liberals all the fucking time. And Dan Crenshaw is literally doing that right now, while also simultaneously lying about like how difficult it is or how fucking what the outcomes of infrastructure bills look like. But regardless, he's doing that like annoying little thing, that annoying little like, well, it's too hard. It's too hard for you to comprehend. I mean, I think people just want lies to be told to them, and that's populism. And what I'm doing is just the truth, and it's too hard to comprehend. It's like, no, it's not, motherfucker. No, it's not.
We actually elevate this idea of being helpless. See, that's what's changed. That's what's changed in the last decade. It used to be that, well, you might feel some shame if you were the type to, you know what, I need some help. I feel bad about it. I'm going to get back on my feet, but I need some help right now. That used to be the sort of American way, all right? We need a safety net. Nobody would disagree with that. We need a safety net. We need to help people who have truly fallen on hard times, who lost their jobs because of COVID. But does that also mean we need to provide a $1,400 check to somebody who never lost their job and whose biggest hardship has been Zoom meetings? Of course not. But over 100 million people were getting checks that never lost their jobs.
100 million?
Easily.
Through COVID?
It's way more. It's way more than that. I'm cutting it off at 100 million. So
Hold on, explain that to me.
When we send out checks, the direct cash payments, I've always been against direct cash payments.
Okay, brother. I hate this argument. He's just making numbers up. By the way, it's so funny. I love this. I love this take. It's like, oh, dude, 100 million people who didn't lose their jobs still got a check. Bro, even if they didn't fucking lose their jobs, it still helped. Okay, it still helped. They were still going through a fucking pandemic. Okay, their jobs very likely got limited in a way. It doesn't fucking matter. That number of money wasn't even all that helpful. There should have been more money. But it's like they still need to eat. You know what I mean? Don't most American workers live paycheck to paycheck? They do. Lastly, people got pay cuts. People had their fucking hours removed or limited, but as a consequence of the lockdowns. But lastly, like that kind of consumer spending was one of the reasons as to why the economy was able to recover in the way that it did. Now, not only that, but also it was literally pointed out that poverty in the beginning of the pandemic was at its lowest fucking level as a consequence of these stimulus checks. Like, we eradicated a certain part of poverty in this country during a fucking pandemic, and not just because of the cash infusion, the stimmies that came in the beginning of the pandemic, but mostly also because of the unemployment insurance. Now, the argument is the added UI benefits. So the question here should be, would you be willing to give more to those less wealthy? Because if this is your argument, if you're saying like people that don't deserve the money got money, then you should be against tax cuts in its entirety, because the argument made for tax cuts is that it job creates for poor people. Wealthy people get tax cuts. They reinvest that money back into the economy. This is basically a one-time tax credit. This stimulus, you can see it as a one-time tax credit, pretty much. So if you're anti stimulus checks, then you're basically saying you're anti tax cuts. Actually, that's not even true. The only reason why this is something that conservatives argue against is because poor people get a pretty sizable, i.e., the same amount of fucking tax credits that the rich people get. That's the reason why they're so upset about this. When it comes down to fucking tax cuts, poor people don't actually get a serious, sizable tax cut. To the likes that like rich people get. Why are people saying that's not true? I'm confused why. You recognize that everyone was impacted in a negative way by the pandemic, and that's why we shouldn't do lockdowns, but doesn't want to give people their stimmy in order to deal with some issues that he mentions. Trickle down is not true? Okay, I know trickle down is not true.
Payments.
So the COVID stimulus checks.
Yeah.
So
because they go out to anybody
people got
who makes
those checks that didn't lose their jobs.
Of course.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. The confusion here is that Joe Rogan probably doesn't comprehend that the $1,200 stimmy that came in the beginning of the pandemic was somewhat universal. I mean, it was still means tested, but it was for everyone that, including myself even, that made less than a certain amount of money.
The cutoff was like $75K a year. So that means...
Wait a minute.
That means every federal... Well, not
so
every,
people
but a lot
that
of federal
didn't
workers
lose
getting them
any
too.
money because of the pandemic still got checks?
Yeah, these were never based on your situation.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
It's ridiculous.
I didn't know that. I thought you had to lose your job. I thought there was a problem.
Oh my God, he's so fucking stupid, dude. He's literally substituting unemployment insurance with like fucking the stimmies that were means tested. Oh my fucking Lord, dude. Again, though, if you want to means test like universal benefits, the way to do it is after the fact. You fucking tax people additionally after the fact if you really, really want to do it. Not before. Give the money to everyone and then, you know, tax them afterwards if they have made too much money that year. How are you supposed to figure out everyone's situation? I mean, you can. I'm describing it to you. That's the best way to do it. Are you ever going to talk about the GameStop stock, the greatest act of economic collectivism and the catalyst of the next major financial meltdown? I have already. I find it so dumb that people fucking like. I'm not going to get into it. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yes,
If you're
it's fucking communism. When communism is when you buy stocks, and the more you hold the stocks, the more communism it is.
people who never lost a penny. So if you look at their tax receipts, you look at their what they made in 2019 versus 2020.
Correct.
If they didn't lose any money.
Yeah, no, it's based on just your income. So I think 75K a year was the cutoff. But also if you're a married couple, 150K, and if you have kids, then it's even more. So you've got like I've got like a lot of active duty military friends who are getting thousands of dollars because, you know, they have kids but it's like, why? And they're like, why am I getting, this is such a waste of taxpayer money.
Oh my God, cucks, dude. Shut the fuck up, bitch. Bro, if you're active duty military and you ask that question, you're a gigantic cuck lord, okay? You are the dumbest motherfucker. Like, holy shit, dude. You probably make fun of like jarheads and shit. You yourself are the dumbest cuck. Holy shit. Imagine being like, why am I getting extra money? Let me tell you guys something, okay? And I've said this before, so you already know this. Rich people never ask that question, all right? Not only do rich people never ask, why is the government giving me any money? But they literally fucking say, why is the government not giving me more money? Give me more money, government boy. You work for me. Jesus Christ. The irony of course, working for the Defense Department and criticizing government spending is not lost on me. That's an entirely different circumstance. Imagine being literally a government employee, like a military member, and being like, why is the government spending so much money right now? Bitch, your entire existence relies on the government grossly overspending. Also, I don't believe that. Like, the reality is, Dan Crenshaw probably knows a lot of fucking idiots, okay? But no one, I don't think any one of his fucking friends are that stupid, especially because the majority of conservatives were on board with these stimmies as well. So I don't know why he's like talking about it like this was a fucking purely Democratic thing.
Money. You know, I mean, do your duty and go spend it on a local business that's been suffering.
The money was allocated to people that lost money because of the pandemic.
No, because we already have a system for that. It's unemployment insurance. Our system works fine for that. And this was always my thing. It's like, look, I'm in favor of temporarily boosting payments to those who are unemployed on unemployment insurance. Usually, state-run unemployment insurance runs at it's at a formula that would make sure that you're not making more than you would have if you were already employed, because you don't want to have a disincentive to go back to work.
Right.
What we did in the initial stages of the pandemic was increase that to an extra $600 a week if you're unemployed. I'm okay with that for a few weeks during hard times. The problem is Democrats want to keep it forever.
Dude, that is so disgusting, dude.
And now every business
The system is literally not supposed to work in places, especially like Florida, by the way. Like, straight up, the system is not supposed to work. It does not work. And people like Ron DeSantis admit that it's not supposed to work, as far as unemployment insurance being hellish to navigate. They do not want you to be able to get money even when you desperately need it.
I talked to is like, I can't hire people. I have so many job openings right now. Can't hire anybody because we still have it. It's 300.
I love that. God damn it, dude. I love that, dude. Just make stuff up. Just, again, when you got nothing else going on, just fucking make shit up, dumbass. Why would you literally ever why would you ever look into anything? Are you fucking stupid? Just make stuff up. Dude, I had so many people. Bro, I had so many people, dude. So many people that were just like looking to hire people, and you know, no one wanted to work because they were on the government dime, dude. Great. Yeah, it's my truth. Exactly.
$100 a week, but we still have it. It means people are getting paid to stay home. There's a distance. They're making a purely rational financial decision. But again, that's one conversation. That's at least a debate to be had, you know, during hard times. But the direct cash payments, that's nuts. That's nuts.
What are the direct cash payments?
That's the free money. That's the free money. That's the free money.
So this is the people that, even though they still...
I don't understand. Why don't you just work for the government like I do as a congressperson and get paid $140,000 a year regardless of how many fucking days off I take? You know what I mean? Like, hey, morons, like if you fucking were living through the pandemic, or 174,000, sorry, not 147. Yeah, hey, dumbasses, like, why don't you make $170,000 a year? Why don't you go on Indeed and fucking swipe all the way? All of you poor fucks, you stop at 35K. You should just keep sliding. You should keep sliding it all the way until you reach Congress. That's how it works, bro. Fuck.
Still make the same amount they made in 2019.
Everyone knows.
In 2020, they got
Literally
a big check
everyone
for no
knows.
reason.
Only dumbasses don't.
100%.
It's so stupid.
That seems crazy.
And that's
if you didn't lose your
if you
job,
do the math, that's well over 100 million people.
and they just got it. They didn't ask for it. They just received it. So it's not something they're guilty of.
Yeah.
They just received it.
Guilty of.
But it gets to the culture.
Yeah, there's definitely guilt in fucking getting government stimmies, dude. Fuck me. So stupid.
Argument that we're talking about. No, there was no backlash for this. Even on the right, I remember, and I was a little frustrated with the president or the ex-president, Donald Trump, the president I voted for. That he was pushing for those $2,000 cash payments. I said,
But don't you think that he was doing that politically? And I didn't vote for him.
But that's the point.
But don't you think
that's the point? That's
political.
That's exactly the point. There's an incentive now to pay people off with their own money, and it's not good.
Yeah, but it wasn't. Don't you think that he was in a desperation situation where he?
Dude, why are they making this? First of all, there is always dire economic situation in the United States of America. If the majority of your citizens don't have $400 in additional spending, right, in emergency funds, and that means they're living paycheck to fucking paycheck. Like, then, you know, there's always an opportunity that there's always a need for extra spending. There's always a need for money. Now, having said that, even beyond that, like, this didn't happen for no reason. It happened in the middle of a fucking pandemic where people lost their jobs, had to have their jobs severely limited. There was no way of immediately getting people unemployment insurance. The state unemployment processes were already completely underfunded and broken even before this pandemic occurred. Like, there was so many fucking reasons for why there was a need for unemployment insurance. I do not understand why they're talking about it as though this is like any given moment. Like, they're talking about it as though Donald Trump was just like, oh, I really want to give people money. That's not how this happened. It's not how this occurred. Did they forget? Did they forget the reasons as to why this happened? Why do they also constantly talk about how, like, free education isn't actually free, but then, taxpayers are funding it, but then they literally forget that this is our money, motherfucker. Like, what are you talking about? This is the money of taxpayers, okay? You didn't literally give your own money to fund this entire UI program. It's our money. We're just getting it back. Shut the fuck up. So what? What is the problem? It's the basis for, I mean, he did say it, but it's the basis for why tax breaks are a necessity. I'm just saying, I don't understand. Like, it's never our money is going to corporations when it comes to corporate bailouts, but it's our money when it comes to poor people receiving it. That's the thing that I always hate. That's the thing that I always fucking hate about the way conservatives operate. It is always wasteful spending when it comes to poor people getting any money.
He just wanted to get reelected. I mean, he's coming through this.
This was in December. He'd already lost.
Oh, so in December after he lost, he's still, but he didn't think he lost. He thought he was still
a different conversation. I don't know if you want to get into it.
It's a good conversation. He thought he was going to somehow or another get reinstated.
I don't know if he ever truly believed that, but
he was pushing for it.
But yeah, it just on the victimhood side, this is the demise of the republic. When people are comfortable with being bought off with their own tax dollars, and being comfortable, and more than that, comfortable with being told that they're victimized and that some other group is responsible for that victimization.
Right. So it's not just that they're in a bad situation. They're in a bad situation because someone did it to you.
And maybe it's the 1%. Maybe it's those mean corporate giants. And now those corporate giants are trying to get all woke and get on the Democrats' good side.
I don't know why who is in favor of this? Who is in favor of this? I don't get it. Like, he is a man alone over here. He does sound a lot like fucking neoliberals, brother. I'm telling you, Republicans were on board with this. Republican voters were on board with this. He is poo-pooing his own base of support right now. He's wagging his finger at his own base of support. No wonder Joe Rogan got criticized hella hard after this podcast.
And being comfortable, and more than that, comfortable with being told that they're victimized and that some other group is responsible for that victimization.
Right. So it's not just that they're in a bad situation. They're in a bad situation because someone did it to you.
And maybe it's the 1%. Maybe it's those mean corporate giants. And now those corporate giants are trying to get all woke and get on the Democrats' good side, like they always do.
Yeah.
Because they want to maintain their little piece of the pie.
That's where it gets tricky, right? Where they manipulate the narrative and they realize where people's heads are at, so they try to jump on board. Catch new episodes.
Bro, this actually sucks. I totally understand why people were not necessarily enthusiastic about this video. Okay, Dan Crenshaw on the political polarization of COVID is the last one, but the top post on the Joe Rogan subreddit, which normally fucking shits on me every time my videos get highlighted there because they think I'm like attacking Joe Rogan and I'm fucking Young Turk's cuck or whatever, is I lost all respect for Joe Rogan today. 30.9K upvotes, boys. Okay? Hold on. Let's take a look. First off, I imagine this would promptly be removed. If not, then I have a newfound respect for the mods here. I saw this podcast with Crenshaw and the way that Crenshaw tried to demonize stimulus checks, and I thought for sure Joe would be the voice of reason, but nah, he was the same out-of-touch ass dude he's always been. Like, how do you, Crenshaw, sit on less than $1 trillion going to actual working-class Americans, yet don't even bring up the fact that we've spent more than 10x that on corporate bailouts? Rogan is an out-of-touch fucking fraud. Dude acts like he's a pinnacle of fitness, while he's actually a TRT bitch. Oh, shit, he hit him there. He acts like he's some super intellectual, but he's actually just a grifter and agrees with whoever he feels is the smartest person in the room. He acts larger than life, but the dude is half an inch taller than the girl I fuck. Oh my God. Oh my God. And he acts like he's original for moving to Texas to escape taxes, yet there was a mass exodus already happening 5 years before. Tune in next week where Joe endorses UBI with Andrew Yang. Edit, LMFAO, the people pissed about the stab at his height. No one gives a shit if you're short, just own it. Edit number 2, I have a newfound respect for the mods here. After 12 years of moderating this forum, I'll never understand where these accusations come from. We don't censor dissenting opinions on Joe or GRE just because we try to steer this is my personal soapbox comments. I would love to see a rolling median income statistic of every Joe Rogan guest over time. The Roger subreddit is super critical of him, not a representation of the millions that watch Joe. I mean, it is wild. Like, how the fuck can you be, like, on board with Andrew Yang? How the fuck can you be on board with Andrew Yang and Bernie Sanders and then turn around, have Crenshaw on, and then, like, agree with the dumbest things that he's saying about government spending? How the fuck can you call yourself a libertarian who's, like, anti-war for the most part, and then turn around and literally have the face of war on your broadcast and, like, suck him off?
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Even though we just got through a fucking horrible year, that year
I have no problem with TRT, by the way. I plan on using it inevitably.
exposed a lot of weird shit about our civilization.
Yeah.
I gotta pee
exposed a
again.
lot of weird shit about a bunch of really freaked out people that are just paranoid and schizophrenic, and how many people that are just fragile. There's so many fragile people in our culture.
I was blown away by the politics of it. I'm a politician, so this is what I analyze. And I was blown away that the conversation about how to deal with the last year became, the division fell upon partisan lines, right? About whether to lock down or not to lock down, about whether people liked masks or didn't like masks. And at first that seems really odd. And so I spent a lot of time analyzing this because it shouldn't be that way. It should be mixed. You would think about just because what you're really talking about is somebody's risk assessment and how they perceive risk and how they want to deal with that and how they think everybody else should deal with that. And it's strange. I think there's a lot of factors involved. I do think that there was some political opportunism. I think that if Trump says something, people reactively say the opposite.
That's a problem, right?
And then that's definitely part of it. However, after Trump lost the election, that didn't stop. That movement again, for pro lockdown movement never stopped. So it was not clear to me then that was the only reason.
But it is. See, the problem is once people get committed to an ideology or committed to a narrative, just because Trump lost and now Biden's in power, it's not like everybody just abandons this narrative and creates a new reality based on objective truth.
But they'll never even do an after action report on it to the point to where it's ridiculous.
I thought you were showing us something.
And so I put a few factors in there. I think some of it is the fact that Democrats tend to congregate in urban areas, and it might be the virus is more in your face in an urban area than in a rural area. That might be some explanation there
for sure, right?
But it really boils down to, and there's studies on this where our brains light up differently when assessing risk. Now, it doesn't mean that the behavioral outcomes of these studies are changed.
Dude, might as well talk about nuclear physics after this, dude. I mean, quantum computing, he's talking a whole lot about shit that he doesn't know about. Might as well go balls to the fucking wall, brother. Just do it. Yeah. Speaking of lighting up brains, here's a brain who has never been lit. Motherfucking Dan Crenshaw. Jesus Christ.
Basically, they would take liberals and conservatives and they would give them what amounts to a betting game, and see how they react differently. Now the actual behavioral outcomes, what they choose, didn't change all that much. But when they're doing the MRI scans, they see that their brains light up differently. So that's interesting. So we clearly assess risk differently somehow. So I looked at data on the kind of jobs that we choose, and it turns out, and this is intuitive, you would guess this, that the vast majority of dangerous jobs are mostly populated by conservatives. Lumberjacking.
What? Holy shit, dude. I had no idea that vending machine delivery drivers were fucking vastly conservative, like landscapers and... Huh, interesting.
Hard labor, military, law enforcement. So
I mean, if you're going to talk about most dangerous jobs, going into law enforcement, you've already lost the argument. Number 17 on the list. What are we talking about? You skipped like 16 other jobs before you got there. Okay. Also, immigrants working in the fucking chicken factory, getting their fingers cut off. Hardline conservatives, those guys. Wait, what's up? I'm working.
It's obvious that we're choosing to engage in risk differently, just overall, in the aggregate. Yeah. And so I think that gets at why we think differently about this. I think we're truly wired differently. And add on top of that, the natural disposition of a liberal to believe in some sort of collective action, whereas the natural disposition of a conservative is to believe that government can only do so much. right? There's life out there, and sometimes it's dangerous, and it's up to you as an individual to generally assess that. And that's also the most efficient way to do things in order to get the best outcomes in the aggregate. So these are two dispositions that are always present, and they manifest in policy outcomes all the time. And in this case, it's pretty obvious how they manifested into the way we dealt with coronavirus. And I think that,
dude, I'm sorry that, like, there are actual studies conducted on what he's talking about, like the way your brain lights up and blah blah blah. But like every single time this shit happens, every single time there is some sort of study like this conducted, is almost always misconstrued and misappropriated by whatever group it is. Liberals do this as well, and so do conservatives, like Dan Crenshaw is doing right here. Where it's just like to make yourself feel sexy, okay? That's all you're doing. I'm just built differently, bro. I'm a conservative. My brain is like super fucking cool. And, being conservative, my brain lights up in a very powerful and very courageous way. It's just what it is, Like there's numerous studies conducted on this. Like it just, conservatism makes your brain super cool and brave. Okay, that's just what it is. And that's why we take dangerous, idiotic fucking points of view like COVID is not real, despite the fact that 500,000 people have died. That sort of thing. It's just a conservative thing, bro.
Kind of explains it because, and think about it this way too. When a more left-leaning public health official talks about it, they always give you the worst case scenario. Well, it's possible that if you're 15, you could die. Well, yeah, it's possible, but it's also far more unlikely than even if you got the flu. They say they leave out that part. They leave out the context. They leave out the probability.
Yeah, dude. Conservatives, my brain lights up differently, which allows me to see the truth behind the lies that science tells. Like, thanks, bro. Thanks, dude. Yeah, roll the fucking dice, dude. Can't believe this guy went to Harvard, by the way, and he's like espousing biological determinism with regards to your ideological predisposition, and also the likelihood that you'll make dumbass decisions as a consequence of your predetermined, haplogroup or genealogy.
Abilities. This is why I've been so frustrated with our public health officials.
Yeah.
Give us the whole truth.
Right.
Don't just give us the most dangerous truth. Don't tell us the tail end of the probability scale. Like that's not useful information to us.
What?
It's been very frustrating to watch how we've dealt with this.
What?
Around the world, not just in America. Frankly, we've had it better than a lot of
epidemiologists. Let Dan Crenshaw describe to you what really matters. Okay, statistics doesn't matter. Personal anecdotes, fuck yeah, bro. That's what we need. Yeah, the whole truth is actually what I see. And I can't see everything from my point of view, but it doesn't matter.
countries.
I think people tend to try to find a group that they can attach themselves to. And Chris Rock has a great bit about this. You know what? You can find Mick Maynard, who is one of the matchmakers for the UFC, posted this on his Instagram. Go to...
Where are we going with this argument, dude? Joe is steering this into just incredible waters at the moment. Incredible fucking waters. He's like, yeah, okay, you're right. Epidemiologists, like, when they're doing risk assessment, they're being really stupid. You're right. Hey, Jamie, pull that Chris Rock bit up. Let's listen to that instead.
Got it? Yeah, okay. So Mick Maynard posted this from the great and powerful Chris Rock. And this is, we can watch this because it's on his Instagram. And if Chris will holler at me if it's an issue. But I fucking love Chris Rock. And this is one of the best points. It might not be one of his best bits, but it's one of his best points ever because it's so accurate. Because he's talking about...
Man, we all got a gang mentality. Republicans are fucking idiots, and Democrats are fucking idiots, and conservatives are idiots, and liberals are idiots, and anyone that makes up their mind before they hit an issue is a fucking fool, okay? Everybody. No. Everybody's so busy wanting to be down with a gang. I'm a conservative, I'm liberal, I'm conservative. It's bullshit. Be a fucking person. Listen. Let it swirl around your head. Then form your opinion. No normal, decent person is one thing, okay? I got some shit I'm conservative about. I got some shit I'm liberal about.
Yeah, like I'm conservative when it comes to denying the empirical evidence that 500,000 plus people died as a consequence of getting COVID in a pandemic that disrupted mostly the Western world. I'm a liberal when it comes to, I guess, other stuff, but I'm a conservative there. Like when it comes to the truth, I'm deciding to be a conservative. Sorry,
Crime,
it's just my genetic predisposition.
I'm conservative. Prostitution, I'm liberal.
It goes on, but that's where the clip ends. But that's so accurate, is that what a lot of people are afraid of is being alone. They're afraid of being attacked. And one of the things about today's culture, particularly with social media, is that it's an attack culture. It's a bully culture. And a lot of these people that are doing the attacking and they're doing the bullying, they've been bullied in the real world. So they want payback. So they're trying to bully people online. Yeah. And that's what you see. There's a lot of like low status males, a lot of like really weak people who have never really overcome physical adversity, or they're not successful, but they found a way online to gather up a group.
Yeah, dude. When I'm thinking of all the fucking sexy hunks in Hollywood, I'm thinking of fucking bullied beta males, dude. I mean, seriously. Look, every fucking political ideology has followers that represent a wide array of body types and personalities. It is so fucking idiotic to just be like, you're a beta male. Talking about Chad Omegalol, like, the fuck? Have you ever seen a fucking groiper in real life, dude? What, you think they're fucking sexy mountain men? No, they're all fucking basement dwellers who have literally never seen the sunlight, okay? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, yeah, dude, I mean, seriously. Conservatives. Yeah, when I think of, when I think of conservatives, I think of sexy men, dude. I think of all the sexy fucking guys that are, incredible and just beacons of racial purity. I mean, that's what I think of. Hold on a second. Let me just show you some. Yeah, just like I said. Guys, conservatives just look good, okay? It's hard to describe it. It's just like they are not fucking beta males, okay? They are literally alpha males in every way, dude. In every fucking way. They are literally alpha males. They're so strong. They're so fucking sexy. Like, they're just, I don't know. I don't know how else to show you the truth. I mean, seriously. Hold on. I mean, behold. I need you to behold I just need you to understand. I mean, dude, they are literally like the alpha of the alpha. Just incredibly fucking alpha, dude. Holy shit. I mean, just think about it, dude. Just think about it for a second. I mean, who else comes to mind when you think about how fucking sexy conservatives
Comedian
are?
Jimmy Kimmel and
Yep, I didn't give you a trigger warning for that because I wanted it to hit, okay? I wanted this to hit you right in the fucking face. Yeah, no trigger warning for Ted Cruz on this day. Yeah, Monka TOS all the way, baby. The successful fucking alpha males.
Group of people that resonate with some of their opinions, and they can attack people, and they do it all day long. I
find that to be the most
it's fascinating.
the most probable. If somebody's saying something extremely crude and awful to me online, it's probably a younger man.
It doesn't necessarily.
Unhappy.
Sometimes it's older men who have failed their life.
Yeah, when I think of conservatives, I think like again, men that have actually built confidence within themselves. And I don't think of like dudes who literally fucking shit their pants at the thought of like a sexy brown person potentially competing with them in the dating marketplace, if you want to think about it in conservative terms. Like, that's what I think of. Motherfucker, conservatives are afraid of their own goddamn shadows because it's too dark for them. and you're over here talking like conservatives are so fucking brave, dude. They're so sexy, so brave, so successful, so hot.
Life. And they've decided that this is their stand.
Yeah, it's the guys, you don't understand. It takes an alpha brain to get genuinely upset about, Mr. Potato Head's cock, or it takes a real fucking alpha brain to legitimately get mad that the Dr. Seuss Foundation decided to shelve like 3 of the fucking books out of like their massive, extensive library of books that they sell on a regular basis. That's the real alpha brain shit that you're focused on when you're a goddamn conservative man, baby.
This is their line in the sand they're going to draw. Whether now they're going to be anti-racist, or they're going to be, anti-homophobic or anti-transphobic or whatever it is, and they're going to attack all these people. Whether or anti, there's so many different ideological pathways that you could choose, that you could get a group of people that agree with you, and then you fight against anyone that opposes these ideas, and you do it in a really aggressive and nasty way, which is something that we should push back against, period. Like, ideas should be something that you should be able to discuss and debate and analyze. You should be able to sit down and go, why do you believe in the simulation theory? And we shouldn't be like, well, you're a fuck.
Motherfucker, no one ever says, why do you believe in the simulation theory? No one will get mad at that. It's when people say, why do you believe that black people shouldn't be murdered by cops? I think that they should be because they're violent. Let's debate. That's when people get mad. And the reason why you don't use that as an example and instead use, why do people not want to talk about fucking string theory or infinite universes or simulation theory, is because the real thing that conservatives want to debate on, as though it's like a legitimate intellectual argument, is the humanity of certain marginalized communities. But if you were to be honest and fucking bring that up, then you would look like a buffoon for defending that point of view. Just saying, Toe Rogan, you being kind of a dick right now.
Fucking idiot, Joe Rogan. That's why you agree. Yeah. It should be like, yeah, I'm a fucking idiot. Yeah. But that's not why I agree with this. That's not why I look at this. I look at this because I'm curious, and I see all the various components. I think there's a lot of truth on both sides. But the problem is when you ignore the truth on a side that doesn't fit with your ideology, then you're not interested in truth. You're interested in what Chris Rock is talking about. You're interested in supporting your gang.
So yeah, and that's your gang or team. I always say that you're either one.
By the way, I say this as someone who's like highly critical of Radlib shit. Like when people get over the top mad, like when people were trying to fucking be like, I can't believe Tropic Thunder was made. It's like still unacceptable. Blah, 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 blah. Like, that shit is fucking whack. Okay, and I tell people to shut the fuck up on supposedly the left all the time. Okay, but there is a difference. Okay? There's a difference. There's a well-intentioned people going too far and advocating for things that are ridiculous, maybe even doing it from a point of aggression, versus the entirety of the conservative ideology that revolves around conservation, not in a good way, not in a positive way like conservation of the nature, but in a negative way, like going back to traditional roots and traditional values such as white supremacy, that we've so desperately tried to fucking push back against, or I don't know, women staying in the fucking kitchen, like not having women not having any fucking autonomy over their own bodies, racism, that sort of thing. I know Amazon votes are coming in and the union is losing at the moment. I don't know what you want me to do. You so desperately want attention from Joe Rogan. All you do is hate watch his videos in hopes of baiting a reaction from him. That's why you hate watch him all the time. You just want attention from him. To get clout and relevance? No, I used to be a gigantic fan of Joe Rogan before you probably even knew Joe Rogan existed, and I think that he has very interesting guests on, and they have really dumb fucking conversations that millions and millions of people watch and listen to, which is precisely why I also watch and listen to it. I think the real problem here is that you're upset that someone who you perceive to be your intellectual daddy is being criticized, and it's something that you feel like is personally attacking you. And that's why you are lashing out in this way. Joe Rogan kind of fell off, to be honest. Yeah, this Spotify deal really.
In a blue jersey or a
Really
red
ruined
jersey,
it.
and then you act accordingly, and,
Yeah.
and you repeat these sort of mantras that you think you're supposed to repeat in order to gain favor within that group, make sure they know you're part of the loyalists
Yep.
there. And if you don't say the things, then that group gets distrustful of you. But this is the problem we have on the right, right? So I think the left is power hungry. I think the right is paranoid, and we tend to look for betrayers in our midst, right? We look
Wait a
for
minute, who's paranoid and who's power hungry? Which
the
one?
right. The right is more paranoid.
Can you switch it back and forth though? Left is paranoid sometimes too.
Look, everybody's on a spectrum, right? I should say that in the beginning, right? I'm analyzing in the aggregate the coronavirus, why people fell on partisan lines on that. But I mean, look, I recognize that not all liberals are risk averse to this extraordinary degree. I recognize that we're all on a spectrum, and from the left to the right. But in the aggregate, this is sort of what we see. And then in politics, as you're talking about, we put on these jerseys. And so I'm just talking in generalities.
Right,
Okay.
okay.
Of course, the left can be ultra paranoid. And of course, the right in its extreme form can exhibit more power hungry tendencies. But it tends not to be. And if we look at the policies actually being implemented, that tends not to be the case. But what I
Yeah, when like right wingers are deciding that the police need more funding so they can buy like MRAPs in a town of 500 people and then use that on like, poor people. That's actually the right advocating for less control. They're not power hungry. Or when the reactionary media apparatus and conservative politicians in general choose to bomb certain nations and stuff. That's not power hungry. I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about. That's just like, it's just crazy. Like when conservatives in Arkansas decided, aside from the governor, that, doctors and patients can consent to a certain medical procedure after rigorous psychoanalysis, but the Arkansas GOP members do not consent to it, so therefore they can't have that happen. That's minimal government. That's not being power hungry for the sake of literally appeasing like 12 fucking people that are fearful of trans people existing. When you control women's bodies, when you don't allow unions to exist in the workplace, these aren't fucking, these aren't like power hungry moves that conservatives engage in on a daily basis, changing, being upset about the outcome of an election and then literally changing voting restrictions, adding more limitations to your voting so that it's harder for poor people to go out and vote. I mean, that's not the government being power hungry. It's entirely different.
I see on my side, because I'm always dealing with my side, we tend to be looking, instead of thinking how to persuade. This is the problem I have, and I'm trying to change. Not that I have, I mean that I think we have.
Your dad literally didn't want a union to happen in his workplace? My dad is a gigantic neoliberal. He is probably very anti-union. You are correct. Except I don't agree with him, but I think you mean my uncle, in which case I disagree with him as well, and I was very critical of him at the time, so thank you for coming to my broadcast.
We talk about fighting all the time, and I say, look, we have to define fighting as persuasion. Persuasion is the name of the game in politics. Look, I can go charge a hill as a SEAL, and that's fighting, right? I mean, and it looks cool, but I'm going to die, okay? What I really should do is communicate, maneuver, and kill the enemy that way. In politics, the fight must be persuasion. And too often, we get more concerned with, saying the things, saying the slogans, saying the things that make us feel good, that make us...
Dude, this is really bad. This is like remarkably
help
bad.
us recognize one.
Because it's not even like aesthetically pleasing. And that's when you truly lose as a conservative, okay? The reality is, like, as a conservative, okay? As a conservative, you can get away with saying a lot of dumb shit as long as it's entertaining. Once you are no longer entertaining, you're fucked.
one another as part of the same team, wearing the same jersey. I think that's what he's getting at. And if somebody veers from that, well, they're a traitor. They're not one of you. And then they're automatically wrong. And instead of saying, I knew you were going to say that, let me tell you why it's wrong. Let me explain it to you. Let's have a debate